Can a woman in Jamaica face civil and or criminal liability for paternity fraud, aka giving jacket? Let us talk law and not vibes. Now, this is for educational purposes only and is not meant to be legal advice. If you require legal advice, please consult with your attorney. Now, under the Registration of Births and Deaths Act in Jamaica, anyone who willfully gives the registrar false information, knowing that information to be false, faces criminal prosecution and imprisonment of up to 3 months and or a fine of $250,000. Also, if a woman in Jamaica, for example, during a maintenance hearing, she takes an oath, knowing and give evidence, knowing that the statement she's making is false, she commits the criminal offense of perjury and can be imprisoned and or fined. Now, DNA testing in Jamaica, the result of a DNA testing doesn't automatically means that a crime has been committed. One would have to show that there was intentional deception and or fraud. All right. Also, if a man has been named as the father of a child and the DNA testing shows that he is not the biological father, that does not necessarily means that the court will absolve him from the further payment of maintenance if a maintenance order was existing against him. The court will look at, was fraud committed? The court will also look whether or not there was a pattern of payment prior to the DNA testing, meaning maybe he was paying maintenance for some years before, and then the DNA testing came out with a result that he is in fact not the father. The court will also look at whether he voluntarily assumed parental responsibility, and the court will also look at what is in the best interest or welfare of the child. Courts are usually reluctant to dismantle existing financial relationships when it comes to maintenance of minor children in this jurisdiction, especially in circumstances where the true biological father cannot be found. A man in this jurisdiction who has been misnamed as the father of a child can, however, file civil suit against the mother to recover monies paid as a result of the deception or the misrepresentation made against him. However, none of this is automatic. It depends on the evidence and whether or not the statements, the misnaming or the paternity discrepancy was in fact intentional and it was a deliberate deception on the part of the mother. Also, in this jurisdiction, a man can file suit, as I said, for deception or misrepresentation. And he can also apply to the maintenance court for adjustment of maintenance or for discharge of existing maintenance order once the DNA test shows that he is not the biological father. But as I said, it depends on the circumstance and the evidence, because the courts are reluctant to dismantle existing financial arrangements when it comes to minor children. And also, in Jamaica, it is rare that there is any criminal prosecution of women who misname men as the father of their children. Very rare. The act exists, but it doesn't have any teeth, so to speak. They are really prosecuted. All right. Now, a man can, under the Status of Children's Act, apply for a declaration of paternity, and the court usually will order a DNA testing. But as I say, it's not automatic. The result doesn't necessarily mean that maintenance may be discharged. All right. And so we have the issue when it comes to paternity, that there are some advocates who are pushing that, father rights advocates. They are saying there should be mandatory DNA testing at birth. And it was debated in the parliament, but yet to be made law. You have women's rights advocates. On the other hand, they argue that this may cause violence against women. They have privacy concerns, and they are saying this may lead to the dismantling of families. It has to do with the cohesion of families in Jamaica. So whichever side of the fence you're on when it comes to paternity discrepancies, you notice I'm using the word paternity discrepancies and not paternity fraud or misnaming. A child, I believe, has a right to know who is his or her true biological parent, meaning father. And to the women, I can only urge you, to thine own self be true. If you like what I have said, like, share, and follow. Until we meet again. Amen. God bless.